You are now tuned in to the Chaotic Culture Podcast.
It's the KKP on your mother flipping airways. Hear the name ringing through the halls and the stairways. You were listening to a pod that can segue. All the latest topics guaranteed to fill your headspace. It's a safe place to voice your opinion. Say what you feel just like you're a kid again. Kid to pro and friends black as obsidian. Chaotic culture, that's the world we living in. So what's the word?
Well, I struggled to actually get on this pod and actually make an episode just because of the week that we've had. And yeah, when I say that, I was like kind of on the fence about trying to, make content for content's sake, but just being so distraught and angry and the way that this country moved this past Tuesday, it was difficult. It's difficult to just be on the mic right now. Thankfully, I've let a few days, pass so that way I could calm down and kind of gather my thoughts. But I know that I'm not immediately going to talk about that right now, but unfortunately, I do have to address that whole situation. Unfortunately, this is what America chose, and they are still counting votes. So I won't say that this is what the vast majority of America chose, but this is what Americans in most states decided to go with. And because the Electoral College is an archaic way of selecting the president, pretty much here we go again, ladies and gentlemen. But I'll get to that in a moment. In any case, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of the Chaotic Culture Podcast, the power where chaos rules and black culture is supreme. The Chaotic Culture Podcast is brought to you by W Energy, the official energy sponsor of the KKP. Use promo code Chaotic Culture 1 to get 10% off your order. The KKP is also brought to you by patreon.com/Chaotic Culture Pod. Subscribe to patreon.com to get bonus episodes and content, and of course, to help keep our lights on. You can subscribe today just for $3, or you can choose any of the other prices for more content, whether it be 5, 7, or 10. Once again, we appreciate your support. This podcast will deep dive into modern black culture and how millennials and Gen Z can navigate the crazy parts, from finances, music, black business highlights, content creators, home ownership, HBCUs, sports, anime, wrestling, black nerddom, and so on. If it encompasses black culture, we are going to cover it. Live from the 410, I am the host and the creator of the Chaotic Culture Podcast. This is your boy, Ked the Pro, a.k.a. the Calculator Millennial, a.k.a. the Encore Presentation. Can I get an encore? Do you want more? A.k.a. your favorite toxic adjacent King, Ked the Poet, Keb the Closer, all that good stuff. The 843 is me. Baltimore's the place to be. Always chaotic, never toxic most days. And back again, once again, with your favorite black culture highlights and black culture shenanigans. It's just me by myself. I was supposed to have my boy Law with me. I'm not sure what he's got going on, but in any case, because he is a naval officer, I do want to wish him a happy Veterans Day, even though he's not a veteran. He literally just got in, but it's still, it's a respect thing. So I definitely want to say happy Veterans Day to him, and I hope he's enjoying his day. Also, happy Veterans Day to my boy Steve. Of course, Steve cannot be on the podcast for medical reasons. I'm not going to get too deep into what's going on and whatnot, because he doesn't like talking about it. But still, he has some things going on as well. So just keep your prayers up for Steve. I have not heard from Sappy. I don't know what's going on. And of course, I have not heard from my other podcast members. So it's just me today, guys. Unless Law pops up here at an unspecified time, it's just me, I guess. But it does leave me some time to, get some things off my chest. Of course, every podcast we start with a mental health check. And as I stated at the beginning of this episode, my mental health was in a absolute wreck. I will say that in this last week, I was more angry than anything and more disappointed. But strangely enough, I was not surprised. I was not surprised at the results, just extremely disappointed because some people, for whatever reason, decided that they wanted 4 more years of you know who at the helm, even though he is a convicted felon who was liable for rape and still has a whole bunch of charges against him. Now, I mean, it's not really going to do much any good now that we've elected him to the highest office in the nation. But yeah, that's where this nation is. Apparently, I don't know what to say, honestly. But I've kind of had to come to the realization, like, well, this is the reality that Americans wanted because of the price of eggs. Apparently, they're like, well, it's the economy. You know, white men, of course, have their own reasons for voting him, and we knew we couldn't trust white men for the most part. I don't know why anybody put their faith in white women. I don't, but I didn't. I knew how white women voted the last 2 times, but what really surprised me, of course, was the Latino vote. And I knew that Latinos were skewing more and more Republican with each election cycle, but I did not think that Latino men would send him over the edge like this. And a lot of their reasoning is just because of the economy, quote unquote, that they are so upset with the way that the price of eggs and the price of bacon and just the fact that the prices have risen. They want what's the word I'm looking for? I think a lot of people voted Trump back in because they want these prices to go down when that's not how the economy works. That's not how inflation works. They expect, oh, well, because of inflation and yada, yada, and so on and so forth. Never mind the fact that, wages have increased with inflation. It may not be at the percentage that we want it to be, but that just proves that like the economy itself was working. It usually takes time. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't have the patience for it because their bills require them to make irrational decisions based on emotion. And it's really saddening to see that people would make an irrational choice just because emotions are high, because the prices of your normal everyday goods have unfortunately gone up. And I just want to point out that they will never go back down because that would, require deflation. And unfortunately, deflating the market will only hurt the economy. And yet here we are, guys. People didn't look at Trump's plan. People didn't look at the tariffs plan. And now you've got companies who are stockpiling goods in the event that tariffs will happen because nobody bothered to realize exactly what a tariff is and what a tariff does. Why is it that the Google search for tariffs have increased? That's alarming. And it's really sad because the majority of Americans don't read past the 6th grade level. And that's even more alarming. But the guy says he loves the poorly educated. And unfortunately, America doesn't think with their head a lot. They think with their heart and with their pockets. And so, unfortunately, the rest of us have to suffer because of that. Now, there are a lot of people and a gang of people who decided that this election cycle, they just weren't going to vote. I don't know what to tell you. And then there are some who voted third party because of their conviction not to vote for genocide, which is strange because I do know that Kamala Harris was trying to find that thin line between not upsetting the Israelis and not upsetting the Palestinians. She wanted to find that balance to help out both. But some people just believe that she was going to continue the policies of Joe Biden because most of American politicians support Israel. So they voted third party and they voted for Jill Stein, thinking that Jill Stein was the safer choice because she's against genocide. Never mind that Jill Stein is actually pro-Israel herself. And I really want to go on a tangent about Jill Stein because I believe she is probably the most fraudulent politician out there. I also have this thing with third parties, and I'm not against third parties and people who vote for third parties because I believe that you have a right to vote for who the hell you want to vote for. And I do believe that you have the right to voice your displeasure with American politicians. But if you are expecting quick fixes, that's where you're not thinking pragmatically enough. Yet, here we are. A lot of people just didn't do their research on Jill Stein. She's been running for president for how many election cycles now? And unfortunately, a lot of people didn't dive deep into the fact that she was supported by big businesses. And a lot of her policies are contrary to what she does. Why would I vote for someone who talks about, wanting to protect the environment, but yet you have stock in the Keystone Pipeline and that you were backed by ExxonMobil and Chevron? Somebody make it make sense. Why would I support somebody who's pro-Russia? Buddies with Putin. I don't get it. Because you claim that you don't support genocide, yet she's buddies with Putin, who is currently trying to destroy an entire nation and merge it back with Russia. That's just me. But you know what? I'm gonna get off my high horse. Except for let me just make one more point. Again, you say that you wanted to vote for someone who wasn't pro-Israel, yet she actually came out and said that she was pro-Israel, and then her running mate it's not only anti-abortion, but they're transphobic on top of that. Make it make sense. But again, every American has the right to vote for whoever they want. And apparently, a great part of this country decided that they wanted to bring back Donald Trump, despite the fact that he's a 34 count felon, the fact that he was liable for rape, the fact that he was impeached twice, the fact that he is pretty much the starter of the January 6 riots. They want more because of a couple reasons. Either A, they, for some strange reason, think he's better on the economy, which if you look at his economic plan, actually adds to the deficit and the debt way more than what Kamala was going to do. They don't like black women and women in general and don't want to be led by one. And of course, the propaganda machine that the extreme right wingers have held on these social media apps that stoke the ego of the bros, the incels, the white male populace. There are plenty of reasons why I also think Kamala lost as well. There are certain things that her campaign did, completely wrong. And I think, I also think that she didn't have enough time. I honestly think that if Biden had not decided to run back in 2023 instead of this past summer, that would have garnered more Democratic candidates to come in and actually, try to primary. And if she won outright, I think that would have been fine. Now, I know a lot of people want to make the argument that, oh, well, they should have had an emergency primary after Biden sat out. I'm like, bro, there was 100 days before the election. That was not going to happen. That would have been extremely chaotic. And if they decided to open up if they decided to have an open convention, that probably would have been even more chaotic. In my opinion, there just wasn't enough time. So, of course, Biden went to the next person up, which was the vice president. Regardless of what happened, there's a lot I can dive deep into. But the reason that I don't want to do that is just because there are plenty of think pieces out there. There are plenty of tweets out there, and there's plenty of research out there for you, the listener and the viewer, to go out and find out your reasons on why he won and why she lost. There's enough information out there. I just want people to understand that tariffs do not help the economy, and I encourage people to actually look at tariffs. And then I'm also seeing a lot of companies and they are getting rid of the just-in-time inventory approach, which is really, really crazy because of their fear of what tariffs will do for this country. So, yeah, it's one thing to have tariffs on a certain product because, if I'm not mistaken, Biden had a tariff on electronic computer chips because he wanted to encourage, American manufacturers to actually make those computer chips that we use in our computers, that we use in our technology, especially that we use in our cars. It's one of the reasons why we had a car shortage during the pandemic, was because of that one chip. So I understand having a tariff on that particular product because you want to encourage American manufacturers. But to have tariffs on all goods to try and encourage American manufacturers across the board and American companies across the board, and to encourage the American consumer to buy American, yeah, prices are going to skyrocket just on daily goods. Y'all said that y'all don't want the price of eggs to rise anymore. You're upset about the way that the price of eggs has risen in the past 4 years. And so you vote for the policy that will more than likely skyrocket that price of eggs. Or if y'all are, for mass deportations and whatnot, and you deport all undocumented immigrants and maybe even some legal immigrants with this whole mass deportation plan, who are you going to have working the farm, like these fields and whatnot? And Americans, unfortunately, are not going to work for $4 an hour for 12 hours. So good luck with having $80 strawberries, guys. But this is what you wanted. This is what you wanted. But I'm not a political podcast. I talk about politics sometimes, but I'm not a political podcast. I will say that during this time, and I really meant to talk about this topic last, but I'm going to just go ahead and talk about it now. During this time period, while we are in this transitional period and before DJT gets back in office, I just want people to, just be mindful of one thing. Right now, Black women and the Black men who voted Kamala have every right to be upset because they've been warning and fighting for an America that benefits everybody. And Black women have had to carry this country for so long just for other support groups and other people of color to spit in their face. So don't get upset with them when you ask them to do something and they say, nah, y'all got it. They have the right to feel betrayed and angry. Do I think that we as a people should stay like that? No. No, because listen, I'm standing firm in the Lord. And I'm not trying to say that, God is on the throne and whatnot to use that as a coping mechanism. No, do not mistake my intentions. But that is the conviction in my heart. Like, God is going to lead us where we need to be. Fortunately, I'm not going to say unfortunately. Good God, no, don't. Ugh, yikes. But in my heart of hearts, like, I have to stand firm in my faith and that God will guide us to that answer, because that's the only thing that's keeping me going right now is my faith in God. Now, you might be a believer like me, or you may not. But ultimately, don't wallow in despair. Yes, it does not look good with all of these plans coming out, especially with their plan to eliminate the Department of Education. Because with that, now I'm thinking about those special needs students and college students or people trying to get into college, how that will directly affect them, especially those students who might be first-time college goers, or they might be first-generation college students, and they depend on programs like the Pell Grant. All of that might be eliminated with the elimination of the Department of Education, because for whatever reason, we have this mindset that the Department of Education is just wasting tax dollar funds, which wouldn't you want your tax dollars to go to something that would benefit the American people overall? But according to the GOP, that's not what they want. And for whatever reason, they have this mindset that we're still in 1970 as opposed to 2024. But let me not say too much. Let me not say too much. Again, I'm not a political podcast. I'm just thinking that those special needs kids and first-time college goers and even college students in general, like what happens to all of those funds? What happens to all of those programs? Yes, of course, the state controls a lot of these programs too. Like they do have these state-funded programs, but the Department of Education was like a reel in, like making sure that these programs were doing what they were supposed to do when the programs that are controlled by the state got out of line. You don't have that barrier anymore. So here we are. I'm just like, this is what we asked for. So I have to continuously pray that God will keep us grounded and on the right path. And if and when this country hits an economic collapse, that that millions and millions of people will realize, oh shit, we fucked up. Excuse my language, but I mean, it's really about to be F around and find out, for real, for real. Good luck, America. This is what we wanted. This is what y'all wanted. I didn't vote for this. I did not vote for this. I'm just amazed at the utter stupidity of it all. But you can't tell a man about his pockets, apparently. People just got to find out the hard way. I guess some lessons are learned the hard way, but as they used to tell us back in the day, a hard head makes for a soft ass. Well, I will say at the end, I have some more thoughts, but they're going to be some more encouraging words at the end, I promise. I don't want to get into the whole like doomsday fears and theories about where this country might go, because I could spend all day talking about that. I'm not going to do that. There are some other things that we got to talk about, so I am going to move on. But I promise you, I will revisit this at the end of the episode, because I do want all of my listeners and I do want all of my people just to be encouraged, because I know that if we stick together in our communities, we are going to be successful. We will find a way. If there's one thing about Black people, we are resilient as hell. We have every right to feel mad and betrayed right now, to where we just like, yeah, y'all go ahead and do what y'all want to do. But I don't want my people to resign themselves to fate. Like, oh well, you know what? I'm just gonna do my own thing, and whatever happens, happens. No, like, eventually we will get back up and fight. But at this very present moment, we have every right to feel the way that we feel. You have every right to be angry. You have every right to be upset. You have every right to feel scared, especially for not only just Black people in general, but especially for our LGBTQ plus friends. You have every right to feel that way, because the policies that we've seen in the past have shown that this could get really, really nuts, especially with a presidency that does not have the guardrails that it did back in 2016. We thought 2016 was crazy. This is about to be 10 times worse, because now he's surrounding himself with a whole bunch of yes men that will not tell him no. And I'll be surprised if we don't end up in a constitutional crisis in the first 100 days. But here we are. Red House, Red Senate, and a super conservative Supreme Court. And a president who, by all means, has unchecked power, thanks to said Supreme Court. Good luck, America. That's all I'm going to say is good luck, America. In any case, let's get to some more topics here. I am unfortunately also a little bit sad because 2024 has done a number on our legends, and we've just had some more legends leave us. And it's really just crazy to think about, because now Quincy Jones has left us since we last potted. The legendary Tony Todd, aka Candyman, has passed. And then we lost Judith Jamison. Now, if you're a listener of mine and you have no idea who any of these people are, I would say Google, but you should know who Quincy Jones is. One of the greatest American composers, band leaders, musicians. It goes without saying, that man was legendary when it comes to music. Absolutely legendary. And he was a conductor. So if you don't know any of his work, you should. You probably don't recognize it at first, but Michael Jackson's Thriller, he was the brainchild behind that. Arranged for musicians like Ray Charles, Sarah Vaughan, hell, Frank Sinatra. He's done amazing things. Like when it comes to big band music, think soul bossa nova, or I'm trying to think of like songs off the top of my head that he helped produce. Ironside, or I Know Corrida, Tomorrow Borca, Just Once. Hell, Michael Jackson again, Liberian Girl. That's Quincy Jones. The Secret Garden. Whoo, The Secret Garden. One of the best love songs ever. When we talk about Christmas/Easter music, Handel's Messiah, A Soulful Celebration, he was one of the brainchilds behind that. Actually conducted and helped produce the black version of the Hallelujah Chorus. Like phenomenal. 28 Grammys to his name. Believe dude was like worth $500 million. Just absolutely heartbreaking that we lost Quincy. It's sad. It is sad. And now, of course, Tony Todd has done a lot of horror flicks and voiceovers, but most famously known for Candyman. But goodness gracious, we talking about Night of the Living Dead. We talking about the Final Destination series. I believed he voiced Venom in the Spider-Man 2 game. He is. We lost a true horror legend in Tony Todd, and he was only 69. Rest in peace to him, man. That was, when I heard that shook me. Like, oh my gosh, man, not Tony. Yo, it was kind of understandable with Quincy because Quincy was 91. He lived a fulfilling life. Tony was just 69. That's heartbreaking. That is heartbreaking. And just a couple days ago, we lost Judith Jamison. Now, if you're not familiar with Judith Jamison, She was the former artistic director of Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater. She was a brilliant choreographer, brilliant dancer, and it's really difficult to see such legends pass away again. Like this is it's really hard for me to talk about this because it's just like, wow, yo, so many legends. I remember seeing Julie Jameson on the Cosby Show, and you just think that she's just, at the time I see it as a kid, obviously you're like, oh, okay, well, she's just a guest star, she can really dance. But to do research on her and know just what she did and how she was one of the directors of one of the biggest African American dance theaters, it is beyond mind blowing. And I really wish that I got a chance to see Alvin Ailey's American Dance Theater perform while she was the director. And I still want to see Alvin Ailey's dance theater perform eventually. That is something that is on my bucket list. It's just so sad to see. It really is. But we've lost 3 great legends. And again, 2024 has not been kind to our Black legends. It really hasn't. I don't know if this is God trying to say something, but it's been a rough year, at least on that front. So rest in peace to the amazing legends that we had in Tony Todd, Judith Jameson, and of course, Quincy Jones. Okay, we've gotten over, I won't say gotten over, but we've talked about our feelings about the election. We've talked about, losing our legends. Now we gotta we gotta talk about something else. We got to talk about something I saw on Twitter, and I just want to excuse me, X, whatever we call it, Elon's platform, which I'm actually trying to wean myself off of. The Chaotic Culture podcast kind of has to stay on there, but me personally, I think I'm going to start moving to other platforms. Like I'm on Threads more now, and I'm probably going to be joining Blue Sky here pretty soon. But I just want to talk about something that happened within the Black community as of recently, and this person goes by Hair Weave Killer. That's his @ name on Twitter, but I believe the other name that he has is Jimmy Harmony. I think that's what it is. So, and the reason I want to talk about this is because this is just nuts. Because he needs to be absolutely slandered. Where do I even start with this? I said Jimmy Harmony. It's Jimmy Darmody, I think. Anyway, Hair Weave Killer. The reason why he's been getting slandered as of recently is because he posted on November 9th that he was going to meet his daughter for the first time. His daughter happens to be 10 years old. Now, most of us are like, hey, that's great. You're finally getting a chance to be in your kid's life. Cool. That's amazing. Especially if you've never met the kid before, you didn't know that she existed, and now you've been told that you have a daughter. If this was me and I realized I had a kid somewhere and someone's telling me for the first time, I'm like, oh yeah, man, I want to go, visit my kid. Cool. Except that's not what's going on with Hair Weave Killer. So apparently he knew his daughter existed and actively chose not to be in her life because of drama with the mama. I just want y'all to think about this for a second. You mean to tell me that You decided to not be in your daughter's life just because you have an issue with the mother. So I want people to really conceptualize this. First and foremost, please, 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 really think about it before you procreate with somebody else. I need you to have like not just regular conversations. You need to have deep diving conversations before you decide to procreate with another person. Because yes, I know that, once a child happens and comes into being, that some people might show their true colors, or some people, might change, because of postpartum or other varying factors. But before you have children with somebody, please really just think about what you're doing. Please have a plan out in place. Don't just get in there and be like, I'm gonna go in raw, and then that person comes out pregnant. Like, really, really, really think about it. And I wish more people would actually think about it before they decide to create children. The children don't ask to be here. This is on the adults in the room. Please have these thoughts. Number 2, you mean you actively chose to be a deadbeat? You mean you decided not to be in your kid's life for 10 years because of something you couldn't control with the mama? It would be one thing if the mama was like, nah, he can't see the kid. And she was actively keeping you from seeing the kid. That's one thing. It's another when you have the ability to go see that kid. You're a little over 3 hours away from that kid, and you actively chose not to be in their lives, and then tweet as if they don't exist. That's really, really, really what gets me. So I'm going to share my screen so that you can actually see what this person looks like. And yeah, granted, I'm all for people, seeing their kids and whatnot. Like you see this guy and you see that's his daughter. I mean, she literally copied and pasted the face. Good Lord. I don't know what her ears look like because, of course, the hair is covering it, but I'm willing to bet she got the same ears too. But that's literally a copy and paste of his face. And you know what? I'm going to celebrate the fact that, yeah, okay, you know what? You're finally stepping up and being a father. But at the same time, I'm actively not celebrating it because this is what you're supposed to do. This is what you are supposed to do. You want me to give you a handshake, a high five, and $500 just because you decided to finally be in the kid's life? Hell no. Negro, please actually be in the child's life from start to finish. Not deciding to jump into the kid's life as you've pretty much missed their childhood. You're going to be in their life more as an adult than they were as a kid at this stage. Yeah, you get to probably be in their life as a teen and them going into, teenhood. And granted, she's probably excited that you're finally in her life. I'm not going to take that away from the kid and the elation that she felt. I just want y'all to maybe I'm trying to figure out how to read some of these quotes. So first thing I see, well, it's not 12, it's 10, but you get the idea. 12 years to travel 3 hours. He lives in St. Louis, by the way. His daughter's in Kansas City. Here are some tweets that he had in 2018. 2018, by the way, the kid is 10 years old. That means the kid was born in 2014. I want a daughter. My nigga, you got a daughter. Since I'll never have kids again, I prefer for whoever I end up with to have a daughter since I don't have one of my own. 2017. His daughter would have been 3 at this time. Or 2.5. If I get into a relationship with a girl with a kid, I hope she has a daughter that I can spoil. Come to find out, this guy actually has 2 sons already. I just wanted to point those tweets out because that is absolutely fucking-sane. Excuse my language. Wow. You have the audacity to tweet stuff like that when you actually have a kid? What part of the game is that, dude? Where they do that at? Nigga, what? I'm sorry, y'all. Like, it's they're beating his behind in the quotes, and rightfully so. And then, yeah, it literally says, like, you got people saying seeking clout for being a deadbeat. Twitter say you live 3 hours from your own child, been paying child support since birth, haven't seen her since birth, and you claim it's because of mother and your depression. My nigga, you ain't have no good days in a decade. Women will sacrifice themselves to maintain relationships with their little abusers so their kids can have relationships with their fathers. But men be like, me and my baby mama ain't get along, so I just neglected my kid. I want my people to do better, but I want this nigga to especially do better. There's pretty much what this one says. Meeting your daughter that you always knew about in person at, 10, but tweeting I want a daughter 2 years ago was absolutely insane. I would never congratulate a deadbeat for finally deciding to show up for their kid. Nigga posted up like a celebrity meet and greet. You can't do nothing but laugh that we live in a society that makes men comfortable enough to tell us they spent 13 years being a deadbeat dad because they were mad at the kid's mom and wanted kudos for deciding to finally meet their kid. Again, I'm not going to be slandering the kid because the kid is finally excited to actually meet their father. And you know what? When you're 10 years old and you finally meet your dad, and your dad decides to finally be active in your life, you know what? I'm happy for the kid. But just because I'm happy for the kid doesn't mean I'm not going to slander your ass for finally deciding to do what you were supposed to do in the first place. Deadbeat ass motherfucker. Excuse my language again. YouTube, I'm sorry, man. If I get demonetized, not that I'm monetized yet anyway, but if YouTube comes back and they find this video and they demonetize me because I said some I was slandering this deadbeat ass nigga, I do apologize in advance, y'all. I'll probably go back and I'll bleep the words out later when I actually get some more money. and here's the actual tweet itself. Wow, bro, you had no clue you had her out here? I knew, bro. I let me and her mother's situation interfere with me being there for her. I'll give you the details on it next time I talk to you because it's too crazy and long of a story to tell on here. In no world would I let the mother of my child and the relationship between myself and the mother of my child come between me and my daughter or my son or my kid. I don't have any kids, but I would never let that situation interfere with my relationship unless it was absolutely out of my control. That had to have been a situation where the mama decided that she didn't want me anywhere near, no matter how hard I tried, that I want to be there. And maybe I don't know the whole story. Maybe it was that situation, but I'm not going to put that on the mama because it sounds like dude was like just beefing with the mom and decided not to be in the kid's life. That is some fuck shit. That right there is some absolute bullshit. I would never let the relationship between myself and the other parent come between my relationship with my kid. I'm just not doing it. I'm sorry. And maybe it's my own personal convictions, and maybe there's some dudes out there that don't have that same conviction, but I know in my heart of hearts, I could not allow myself to do that. Knowing that I had a kid out there, I would do everything possible to be in that kid's life. But it's just the fact that you knew about the kid. You chose not to be in that kid's life until now. And then here you are actively tweeting not even 7 years ago about how you wanted a daughter when you got a whole ass daughter out here, son. Hello? Are the real fathers in the house? Can I get some people? Maybe I'm tripping. Maybe I'm tripping. Y'all let me know. Am I being too harsh? Or am I not being harsh enough? Because I really want to slander this nigga some more. Just seeing that whole situation on Twitter, that really just really pisses me off. But you know what? I think Twitter has done its job. They are rightfully slandering him and packing him up. And yet, I mean, he's on the app, trying to double down now and whatnot, and, saying all kinds of bullshit and talking out the side of his neck. But I know that the more he does that, the more he gets slandered on here, and the more I'm just like, you get what you ask for, my guy. You get what you ask for. But I definitely just wanted to share that because I just had to, I really wanted people to see where we were coming from or where I was coming from. And yeah, I just wanted to point out that craziness because, yeah, that was some bullshit. I'm trying to see if there were any other tweets that I liked that, related to that. But here goes another one. Shout out to people with a forgiving heart like this, because if my dad wasn't in my life growing up and all of a sudden wanted to reconnect, he could kiss my black ass. April 27th, 2019. Zero self-awareness. Absolutely zero self-awareness. I really wish niggas like this didn't exist, because I'm just looking like, I don't know. Then he got the nerve to tweet yesterday, I'm not giving no grace to you niggas though. Y'all can fight me about it. And somebody tweeted, should have fought this hard to see your daughter, lame ass nigga. That's what your ass get. I do hope that your relationship with your kid from this point forward goes wonderfully and smoothly, and that you stay in her life. But if you are looking for us to celebrate you being a dad when that's what you should have been doing at the start, I hope they continue to fry and cook your ass on Twitter. That's all I got to say about that. Please, ladies and gentlemen, I just ask that if you are going to be a parent, please be in that kid's life from day one, day zero, when they're cooking in the womb. But at the same time, please, I beg, have discussions about having children. Have these discussions before actually procreating. And not just these, I want to have a baby, let's just have a baby conversations. Actually think about what that means for that child and what that means for you and your life from that point forward, because a kid is a life-altering event. And I wish more people would understand that. Anyway, I'm going to get off my soapbox about that. We got a couple more things to talk about, and then I'm getting up out of here. So I just wanted to let y'all know, of course, with it being November, we're at the end of the year, obviously. And there are some new people who dropped. And then, of course, there's also some Grammy nominations that we got to talk about real fast. As far as new music, Ab-Soul just dropped an album, Soul Burger. If you have not checked it out, do so. Take some time to listen to that album. That album has been beautifully created. Soul does get some, personal shit off, which she does in every album. But I really do like the growth of this album, man. And it really just shows that TDE has been up here. They've been absolutely up here for a long, long time. Even without Kendrick, they still drop quality projects. Speaking of which, apparently Isaiah Rashad took the Sun's Tirade off of streaming platforms, and I want to know why. Why would you take such a great album off? Like it I don't know if he's re-releasing it as like a deluxe album or what TDE is doing, but that is just so insane to take that album off. That is my favorite Isaiah Rashad album. The House is Burning is really, really good too. Don't get me wrong. And I love Sylvia Demo, but the Sun's Tirade is my shit, man. Why take it off of streaming platforms? Man, that hurt my heart. Anyway, Smino's got a new album that's gonna be dropping here pretty soon. I've been waiting for Smino to drop for so long now at this point. Like, I need some more Smee, bro. Please drop music. We've been waiting on it. We've been waiting on it, bro. So go ahead and drop. El Mean actually has a Tiny Desk concert, which I heard a snippet of. If you haven't heard El Mean, please do so. That's all I'm gonna say. Just do so. Just go listen to him. Dude got a incredible voice. And I'm glad that he got featured on Tiny Desk. So definitely check out El Mean if you haven't. I did check out Freddie Gibbs, his latest album, You Only Die Once. If you've listened to You Only Live Twice, that is his. It's a quick album. It's a quick EP. I won't say quick EP because it's still 8 tracks long, but it's an album about his connection with God. And then this album is his confrontation with the devil. So give that album a listen, obviously. Obviously, I finished Tyler. Chromacopia is phenomenal. It is a phenomenal album. And I've talked about it on this pod in the past that his earlier works I kind of stay away from because he was on some crazy shit. And, the guy who loves Jesus in me just could not listen to Goblin without turning it off because it's like, yo, you saying some crazy ish right now. But with Chromacopia, it's not like that. And yeah, it's a lot of growth and a lot of, realizing some of the stuff that, what his mom was telling him as a kid and as a teen, and now how everything is making sense. I think that this album is really phenomenal. And when, granted, it won't be getting it nominated for any Grammys this year, but next year when it rolls around, it definitely deserves some Grammy nominations. So definitely shout out to Tyler. I'm trying to think if there's any more new music that I've listened to in the last few days. I've been going through, I did listen to Victoria Monet's Jaguar 2, the deluxe version. And let me just say that if Victoria Monet knocked on my door and said that she wanted to do whatever to me, I'm not saying no. Take that how you will. I'm not saying no to Victoria Monet. I just want to put that out there. SOS is that song is going on the playlist. I'm just being real. That song is going on the playlist. That's all I wanted to say about that. And Earth Gang did drop another album, Perfect Fantasy, which I thought was beautifully crafted. This is their first album outside of Interscope in a while, so it's another independent album. They are still technically under Dreamville, but this is their first album without Interscope, back in the actual album itself, and it was really, really good. Earth Gang has not dropped any bad projects. So if you haven't listened to those albums that I just talked about, please be sure that you did. I also listened to Still Praying by Westside Gunn because y'all know I am a Griselda mark. So shout out to Griselda and shout out to the boy Westside Gunn. Still Praying is a well-crafted rap album as well. And apparently he only did it in like, he made the album like what, 1 or 2 days. So dude still West Side Gun, the whole Griselda team, they are yes sir when it comes to raps. I love it. I love it. So definitely be sure that you check out Still Praying if you haven't already. I think that's all the albums and the new music that I covered. I definitely listened to a ton of music these last few days, and there's still some that I have to catch up on. There's a lot of, it seems like there's a lot of music that I haven't listened to yet, but I've got a lot of stuff that's just like in my queue. So yeah, I'm definitely going to be keeping up with some music at the end of the year. But let's talk about some of these Grammy nominations. Yeah, the Grammys are coming up, and as would have it, let's check out some of the nominations here. So for the first time in Grammys history, only female artists are nominated for Best Pop Vocal Album. Obviously, Taylor Swift is on this. I have to look at some of these other albums, really. It's crazy. Doechii becomes the first female rapper to receive a Best Rap Album nomination at the Grammys in the 2020s, because the last one, I believe, was Cardi B. But Alligator Bites Don't Heal, still one of the best hip-hop albums this year, if not the best. I wholeheartedly agree. Like, Doechii got it. She definitely got it. I will say that she's gonna have it tough a little bit, because I think it's a lot. Cowboy Carter, I don't know how many nominations it got, but it got a lot. But yeah, we'll get to that in a second. Chris Brown's 11:11 has been nominated for Best R&B Album. Okay. I haven't really listened to a Chris Brown album in like a long time, so I can't really like say too much about that. It's kind of crazy. I'm trying to think what else got nominated for Grammys. Where is the actual like Recording Academy's Twitter? Because I really want to. I really want to pull up this list so we can kind of go through it all. And I'm going to share my computer once again, so that way we can actually see what is being nominated and whatnot. So here we got General Field. All right, so we got Record of the Year. We got Now and Then by the Beatles. I didn't even know the Beatles had a song out this year. Texas Hold'em, Beyonce, of course. Espresso, Sabrina Carpenter, no surprise there. 360 by Charlie XCX, all right. Birds of a Feather, Billie Eilish, of course. Not Like Us, Kendrick Lamar, no surprise there. Dude got like 7 nominations this year and did not drop an album. Good Luck Babe by Chappelle Roan, and Fortnite by Taylor Swift and Post Malone. Category 2, Album of the Year. We got New Blue Sun by Andre 3 Stacks. That's crazy that it got Andre had an album. The Fluid album actually has been nominated for Album of the Year. You know what? Kudos to Andre Benjamin, man. He dropped a very, very vibrational album. Cowboy Carter, of course, with Beyonce. Short and Sweet, Sabrina Carpenter. Brat, Charlie. Jesse Volume 4, Jacob Collier. Hit Me Hard and Soft, Billie Eilish. Chappelle Roan, The Rise and Fall of a Midwest Princess by Chappelle Roan. And The Tortured Poets Department with Taylor Swift. Here's my thing. If Taylor Swift wins again, I know for a fact that the Grammy nominations ain't shit, because this is probably her worst album from what I've been told, because I don't listen to Taylor Swift. But Cowboy Carter and New Blue Sun, in my opinion, deserve Album of the Year. Song of the Year, a bar song, Tipsy. Shout out to Shabuzi. Birds of a Feather with Billie Eilish. Die with a Smile, Lady Gaga and Bruno Mars. Shout out to them. Fortnite, Taylor Swift featuring Post Malone. Good Luck Babe, Chappelle Roan, Not Like Us, Kendrick Lamar. and when you see all the credits, like you see all like the songwriter credits and whatnot, like a bar song Tipsy has Sean Cook, Gerald Jones, Joe Kent, Shabuzi Collins, Obina, that's his full name, Nevin Sastry, and Mark Williams. Birds of a Feather has Billie Eilish O'Connell and Phineas O'Connell, because you know that's her brother. Die with a Smile has like the songwriter says Durst Emile II, James Fauntleroy, Lady Gaga, Bruno Mars, and Andrew Watt. Fortnite has Jack Antonoff, Austin Post, and Taylor Swift. Good Luck Babe has Kaylee Rose, Amsuts, Daniel Negro, and Justin Tranter. Not Like Us, Kendrick Lamar's the only songwriter. Please, please, please. Amy Allen, Jack Antonoff, and Sabrina Carpenter, and Texas Hold'em, Brian Bates, Beyonce, Elizabeth Flo Bolin, Megan Bulow, Nate Ferrara, and Raphael Sadiq. Oh, Raphael Sadiq actually has writer's credits on Texas Hold'em. I did not know that. Interesting. Best New Artist, Benson Boone, Sabrina Carpenter, Doechii, Khruangbin, I think that's what you say. Ray, Chappelle Roan, Shabuzi, Teddy Swims. Producer of the Year, Elisa Dernest, Demille Emile II, Ian Fitzchuck, DJ Mustard, and Daniel Negro. Songwriter of the Year, Jesse Alexander, Amy Allen, Ray, Jesse Joe Dillon. There's a lot of stuff. Of course, we got I'm really trying to skip like all the pop and dance and whatnot, because we can be here all night. I really want to get to like the R&B category. If we got R&B, rap, and spoken word poetry. So best R&B performance, we got Guidance by Jhené Aiko, Residuals by Chris Brown, Here We Go by Coco Jones, Made for Me, live on BET by Mooney Long, and Saturn by SZA. SZA's probably going to win this one. Best traditional R&B performance, Wet by Marsha Ambrosius, Can I Have This Groove by Kenyon Dixon, No Lie by Layla Hathaway, Make Me Forget by Money Long, That's You by Lucky Day. Best R&B song, After Hours by Kalani, Burning by Thames, Here We Go by Coco Jones, Ruin Me by Money Long, Saturn by SZA. Best progressive R&B album, So Glad to Know You, Avery Sunshine, En Route, Duran Bernard. Duran Bernard really is like so underrated. Bando Stone in the New World by Childish Gambino, Crash, Kalani, Why Lord by No Words. And Why Lord was a phenomenal album. Goodness gracious, we got some heavy hitters. R&B album, you got 1111 Deluxe by Chris Brown, Vanta Black by Layla Hathaway, Revenge by Money Long, Algorithm by Lucky Day, and Coming Home by Usher. Coming Home was not my favorite Usher album, so I would expect something else to win, but we'll see. Best rap performance, Enough, Miami by Cardi B, When the Sun Shines Again by Common and Pete Rock, Nissan Altima by Doechii, Houdini by Eminem, Like That, Future, Metro Boomin featuring Kendrick Lamar, Yeah Glow by Glorilla, and of course Not Like Us. Best melodic rap performance, Kalani with Jordan Adetunji, I always get the name wrong, featuring Kalani, Spaghetti with Beyonce featuring Linda Martello and Shabuzi, We Still Don't Trust You, Future, Metro Boomin on the Weekend, Big Mama, Lotto, and 3 with Rhapsody featuring Erykah Badu. I love 3. Best rap song, Asteroids, Rhapsody featuring Hit Boy, Carnival, which is Kanye West and Ty Dolla $ign featuring Rich the Kid and Playboy Cardi. Like That, Future, Metro Boomin and Kendrick Lamar, Not Like Us, Kendrick Lamar, Yeah Glow by Glorilla. Best rap album, you got Might Delete Later by J. Cole, The Auditorium Volume 1 with Common and Pete Rock, which was a great album, by the way. Alligator Bites Never Heal, a phenomenal album. The Death of Slim Shady, Coup de Grace by Eminem. It was decent. And We Don't Trust You by Future and Metro Boomin. It's going to be some interesting... We got some interesting nominations, to say the least, guys. But that's kind of all that I wanted to share as far as like the Grammy nominations. I think that this year's Grammys is going to be interesting to watch. I do want to see where they go with this. And I do want to see who wins out of those rap and R&B categories. The rest I really could give a fuck about. Album of the Year, Record of the Year, and Song of the Year, I think I'll care. But I just know that I think Cowboy Carter got like 11 nominations, if I'm not mistaken. I just need Beyonce to get Album of the Year. please just give Cowboy Carter Album of the Year, because I think it deserved it. I think it deserves it. And this is me coming from someone who does not stand Beyonce the way that a lot of my colleagues do, but I think that it was a great album. So with that in mind, I'm going to get up out of here. But before I leave, I just want y'all to know that the Chaotic Culture Podcast is going to be getting more involved in the community surrounding Baltimore. And I am going to do my damnedest to make sure that we cultivate a community that includes our Black people and how we can survive these next 40 years. And hopefully we'll be able to overcome whatever curveballs this crazy ass government is going to be throwing out at us. So I just want my people to be mindful that, yeah, it does look bleak at times, but as long as we continue to cultivate our communities together and we hold each other up and that we walk together, I think we'll be okay in the long run. And ultimately, we're going to do our part to be sure that the Black artist, the Black content creator, the Black business owner, the Black community organizer is highlighted and continuously highlighted on this podcast. This is what we created the Chaotic Culture Podcast to be. And we're going to continue to do that here going forward, but especially now. So to all of the folk out there who may feel some sort of unease, maybe you're frightened, maybe you're scared, you're more than likely angry, I just want you to know that we are here to support you. And I just want you to know that you are not alone in this fight. As long as we come together to make this community what it is, I think that at the end of the day, we'll be okay. But only if we continue to work together within our communities. As far as saving America, well, I think America has to learn this lesson the hard way. I just hope that that hard way doesn't lead to something that was out of the playbook of Nazi Germany, which a lot of this sounds like it is, but hopefully we don't go that route. And hopefully we as a Black society that lives in America will be able to thrive despite what may come our way. And I'm not saying that you have to get up and join the fight now, because at this very second, again, you have every right to feel the way that you feel. You feel like these other communities aren't looking out for their best interests and definitely not looking out for our best interests. That's understandable. The important thing is that we don't give up this fight. You don't have to jump in right now. You don't have to jump in, in a year or two. Because you know what? We need time to process everything. We need time to process what's about to happen. And we also need time to make sure that we come together and collectively come up with a plan that will help us succeed. But the main thing that I just wanted to say is, don't give up. Stand firm. You know what? The thing about living in this society and just living in this world in general is that chaos is just going to come in all different kinds of directions. And I know we call ourselves the Chaotic Culture Podcast, but I want you to know that we thrive in chaos. And Black people in general were built to survive chaos. Doesn't mean that we want to do it all the time, because it seems like that's what we do all the time. But stand firm. Sometimes God gives us confusing guidance, and I know that sounds kind of crazy, but all that means is that we may not understand it now, but we will in due time. And I don't serve a God of confusion, even if it means that I'm confused. I know that the one who created me will keep me on the right path. And I look back on it and say, you know what? I'm glad that he sent me on this path and on this direction, which is what I believe why I created this podcast, because I wanted to genuinely highlight my people, highlight the things that we're doing in the community, shed light on the crazy stuff that's happening within the community, of course, but to definitely try and highlight and uplift my community. This is what I created this podcast for. So no matter what happens within our federal government or even in your local state government, stand firm. Stand firm. You don't have to do it right now. Heck, you don't have to have a timetable for it. But I don't want you to resign yourself to defeat. Black people have survived worse. That's not to say, again, that we want to keep going through it, but the thing is that a crisis and chaos is not going to stop. That's just life in general. You may think that you've figured out one plan, or you may have resolved one crisis when another one will hit you from behind that you didn't see coming. Then you figure out and you solve that crisis, and then another one's going to hit you on your left and your right. The important thing is that no matter what crisis that we come through, don't waste it. Use that moment to build yourself up and build up your community. And big shout out to Bishop Walter Thomas Sr. of New Psalmist Baptist Church, because he gave me some of these notes to use. I don't know if he knows that, but I definitely shout out to him, because that preached word definitely helped me get on this podcast today to make this episode, because throughout the week, I was completely discouraged on trying to create this podcast episode. But at the end of the day, your labor will not be in vain. I know it seems like we have to put in even more work than we want to, because trust me, I know a lot of us out here really don't want to put in that much more work, but this is what life has given us. So let's make the most of it. Your work and your hard work and your labor is not going to be in vain, I promise you. Let's keep doing the work. Let's keep moving forward. Let's build up our communities, whether it's in our local governments, whether it's just in our local communities in general, whether we are volunteering, or whether it's in programs like the NAACP or any community outreach organization, or whether it's going back to church and making sure that that church is a bastion of community organizers like the Black church used to be. Let's get back into doing that. And I want this podcast to be at the forefront, because we want to be sure that we can highlight all of you who are doing good community work or doing something good and positive for yourselves. That even in the midst of chaos, we will still stand firm and be successful. I believe in you. And I know, hopefully, you believe in you. And if you don't right now, that's okay. The important thing is that you're here. And the important thing is that you're watching. And the important thing is that you can continue to maintain for yourself. And at any point in time, you need to talk to somebody, you can message me, DM me. If you know me personally, you can text me. I'm not going nowhere. God willing. I'll stand right with you. Let's stand together. And let's beat back this chaotic situation. So with that in mind, I'm going to go ahead and end off the episode. As always, we're going to do the rundown real quick because I want to be sure that each of you know who is out here making a difference in their communities and the stuff that they're just doing in general. So for our podcast, again, big shout out to Shogo High, big shout out to Inside the Mind of a Blurred. Those are the other two podcasts that I'm a part of. Of course, big shout out to Mike Check Waifu, who's doing plenty of good work out here. Shout out to those two brothers, and big shout out to Polo, who just got married. Man, much love to you, man. You and yours. Congratulations on the nuptials. I pray that you and yours will have a successful family life. Shout out to Worst Jen and Blaname, Truth and Transparency podcast with Brother X, the culture scientist, and Mr. Smith. Big shout out to K Renee. I know eventually she'll get back in the podcast, and I'm gonna have her back on here as well. It's So Real with Raquel Onaji. Dad Needs to Talk with Rob, the father of Vash. Analytical where shit gets critical. Geek Set podcast. Anime Junkies 3 Weaves in the podcast. Those Anime Girls, The Commute, and Black Geek Energy. For our Black content creators, shout out to Off Black Mag with Aaron, HBCU Anime with Evan, Cerberus Entertainment. Big shout out to my sister Tatted Poodle. Big shout out to my sister Geechi Gamer. Icarus Metro Comics with my boy Calvin. Shout out to the gang Hub Taku. And once again, congratulations to Vani, who just became a part of the media team for Exodus Pro Wrestling, which is under the National Wrestling Alliance. So big shout out to you, Vani. Shout out to Shelby with Simply Janine, Simply Baked and Rose Less Traveled. Big shout out to Strange Keith with Idols to Icon. Toasty Marshmallow. Big shout out to, of course, the Corner 5 with Simone, Courtney 5, Chris, and Sham. And big shout out to Scuba Steve and Alpha with Blur Mind Productions. For our Black artists, shout out to NASA, Scoozy, Jack Union, Phil.me, Ellis Quinn, RJ Stackhouse, Quarter, Tyrone Leak Jr., Ari Lachelle, who also just got baptized recently. So once again, congratulations to you, Ari. I'm glad that you were able to rededicate your life to the Lord. And shout out to Zach Hines with Fortresses. Shout out to Elena. Shout out to Zainab, and big shout out to Imogen. And for our Black businesses, Already Paid by Dre, Fresh Nurse, Righteous Minds by Timo, Cases Brand by Christina, Cream Cosmetics by Naima, Mind Over Money by Mr. Maine, Studio Maho with Pat Yin, Concept Moon, She Designs 2 with Aaron, Black Magic / Lit Wands with Lowen T, H4 Creative with Zenobia, Real Estate Stone by Meredith, Sold by Bell by Mariah, goodness gracious, GVGVO with NASA, and of course, Scrappy Sentiment with Sappy. All right. Be sure that you like, share, and subscribe to the Chaotic Culture Podcast on your favorite digital streaming platform. Be sure you subscribe to the Patreon for early access to the podcast and bonus episodes of the podcast. You can subscribe at any of the 4 levels listed. Once again, we appreciate your support. You can follow the Chaotic Culture Podcast on Facebook at Chaotic Culture Podcast. You can also follow us on IG at Chaotic Culture Pod, as well as on Threads at Chaotic Culture Pod. And you can also follow us on X/Twitter at Chaotic Culture 1. You can follow me, Ket the Pro, that's K3D the Pro, on all social media. Of course, you can follow my boy Law at Law96_ on Twitter and L.JR_96 on Instagram. You can follow Scuba Steve at Scuba Steve 1428 on all social media. You can follow Jay at Jaylee Trey on all social media. You can follow Miss Nasa at I'm Nakasa on all social media. And you can follow Miss Sappy at Scraps14 on all social media. All right. One more day. One foot in front of the other. Let's get it, y'all. This has been another edition of the Chaotic Culture Podcast. So until next time, folks, remember, embrace the culture. Chaos rules. Be blessed. Be safe. God is love. We out of here. Deuces.
It's the KKP on your mother flipping airways. Hear the name ringing through the halls and the stairways. You were listening to a pod that can segue. All the latest topics guaranteed to fill your headspace. It's a safe place to voice your opinion. Say what you feel, just like you're a kid again. Kid the Pro and friends, black as obsidian. Chaotic culture, that's the world we living in. So what's the word?
You are now tuned in to the Chaotic Culture Podcast. And